The galactic balance had been preserved for 12,000 rotations by the conquered of sentient systems, an intricate network of ancient species bound by treaties, cultural programming, and calculated fear. Each civilization, be it the crystalline HFY, the misformed Dalari, or the machine symbiotic Vrexari, contributed to a rigid, orderly lattice of existence. Laws governed innovation. Exploration was meticulously mapped. Warfare was ritualized, its outcomes predetermined to avoid disorder. At the heart of it all was the Atris Core, a stellar network of quantum arrays that monitored the flows of trade, diplomacy, and sanctioned conflict across 10,000 inhabited systems. Disruption was mathematically impossible. Predictability was civilization's highest virtue. Then came humanity. Earth was catalogued as a Category Sigma primitive, a forgotten class III biosphere on the galactic edge. Automated conquered probes first registered human civilization when electromagnetic signatures burst outward in unruly, chaotic patterns during Earth's 20th century. Protocols dictated containment assessments, followed by uplift or extermination if necessary. Yet Earth's location was deemed so remote, so statistically insignificant, that action was deferred. The mistake was recorded, the galaxy moved on. For centuries after, humanity grew unchecked, beyond the notice of the conquered. Their wars raged, their technologies surged forward without oversight, powered by an erratic blend of desperation, genius, and audacity. By the time a second survey arrived, a minor expeditionary vessel from the scholar caste of the Omulthari, it was too late. They found not a species on the brink of self-destruction, but a civilization that had tamed fusion, mastered synthetic intelligence, and reached for the stars with hands unshackled by any ancient dogma. Humanity had established outposts on Mars, Europa, the Kuiper Belt, even launched sleeper ships into interstellar space. Their philosophies were fragmented, contradictory, and violently passionate. Their greatest resource was not their strength or technology, but their refusal to submit to the inevitability of decline. The Omulthari envoy made first contact at Alpha Centauri, offering terms of integration. The humans laughed. Within 3 standard cycles, Earth's first response fleets, ramshackle compared to conquered fleets but terrifyingly adaptable, had seized 2 outposts, reverse-engineered Concordian gravity sheaths, and developed rudimentary slipstream drives based on fragmented data. Each tactical engagement revealed not just military aggression, but an ability to learn and evolve at rates that the conquered had no precedent for modeling. The Conquered Council convened an emergency session on Olidris Prime, the jewel of galactic governance. 500 species attended in glittering ceremonial unity. Grand Executor Silvar of the crystalline HFY presided, his form refracting council light into dazzling patterns. Deliberations lasted 99 cycles. Mathematical projections predicted a 99.8% chance that humanity would be absorbed, neutralized, or self-destroy within 3 millennia. Action would be measured, containment fields placed, trade restrictions enforced, psychological reorientation via cultural infiltration. What they failed to model was human rage against stagnation itself. Commander Sarah Imani, leading Earth's first true interstellar fleet, the Terran Free Armada stood on the bridge of the TFS Resolute, staring at the holographic representation of the conquered fleets massing along the Tavalis corridor. Her officers moved with taut efficiency, coordinating sensor sweeps and propulsion matrices manually, bypassing the ship's own AI systems. Human intuition often outstripped algorithms when uncertainty reigned. "They expect doctrine," she said quietly. "Yes, Commander," answered Lieutenant Cao Lin, scanning interception vectors. "They predict stable formation engagements, standard fallback maneuvers, calculated surrender points." Imani smiled, a feral glint flashing in her eyes. "Prepare Operation Breakpoint, randomize fleet signatures, commence false retreat, signal the vanguard, we set the system on fire." In the depths of space, chaos ignited. The Terran Free Armada executed maneuvers so wild, so violently unpredictable, that the conquered fleets, programmed for thousands of years to prioritize equilibrium and minimal variance, could not recalibrate in time. Human ships shed decoy modules, faked core breaches, and pivoted into close-quarter ambushes. Concordian commanders, bred from birth to anticipate minor variances and uphold containment patterns, hesitated fatally. At Tavalis, humanity scored its first decisive victory. It was not through superior firepower or numbers, but through sheer, blistering chaos married to creative brutality. It was a signal flare across the stars. Humanity would not be absorbed. The Atris core registered the event as an existential anomaly. Probability matrices buckled. Predictive subroutines entered recursive failure. For the first time in 12,000 cycles, the Conquered's models had no answer. At the Council on Olidris Prime, silence reigned. Holographic banners flickered. The crystalline visage of Sylvar dimmed, its internal light pulsing erratically. "The contagion must be purged," intoned the Vrexari Primarch. "No," whispered Elder Lavine of the mist-formed Delari, "they cannot be purged, they must be quarantined." Outside the council chambers, new stars were being born, factories, shipyards, bastions of Terran willpower materializing from the void. Humanity was moving, growing, defying containment. The galaxy had not yet understood. Systems could ensure order, but human will, driven by need, by anger, by hope, would ignite a chaos with purpose. A chaos that no lattice of law could ever fully withstand. And the spark had only just begun. The aftermath of Tavalis rippled outward in waves no conquered model could predict or contain. Minor civilizations once comfortably nestled under the protective aegis of the conquered began questioning the certainties they had been taught to cherish. If a primitive species like humanity could fracture the unbreakable, perhaps other impossibilities lay waiting just beyond the veil. The conquered responded with escalation. Elite suppression fleets, units not deployed since the cataclysm of Veraxel, were reactivated and dispatched to the frontier. Bioforges once restricted to defensive applications were ordered to produce advanced warforms, autonomous leviathans bred for system-level annihilation. Across 10,000 worlds, an ancient doctrine resurfaced: zero-tolerance integration. Meanwhile, Earth burned brighter. In hidden shipyards orbiting dead moons and within hollowed asteroids, humanity manufactured fleets not according to conquered standards but to Terran vision. Modular, self-repairing hulls, weapon systems that adapted in real time based on battlefield data, entire brigades of cybernetically enhanced soldiers, operators, who linked neurally to ships, drones, and weapons across entire theaters of war. Yet it was not raw technology that shifted the balance, it was mindset. Human commanders refused to honor traditional battle protocols. Ambushes, feints, decoy surrenders, and psychological operations became standard practice. Prisoners were treated with confusing kindness one moment and ruthless strategic detachment the next. This unpredictability unhinged the conquered species, most of whom had long ago expunged emotional volatility from their cultures. Commander Sarah Imani was promoted to Grand Marshal of the Terran Free Armada, though titles meant little to her. Authority flowed not from bureaucracy but from demonstrated audacity. At every council she convened, a singular motto was etched above the command dais: adaptation is survival, innovation is victory. The next major engagement was not a battle but a virus. Using captured conquered databanks, human cyberneticists developed the Solace Protocol, a digital contagion disguised as a ceremonial communique. When the suppression fleets opened the diplomatic channel as dictated by their archaic engagement rules, the Solace Protocol flooded their systems, corrupting targeting matrices and propulsion schematics. Entire flotillas drifted powerless into asteroid fields, their commanders paralyzed by their own trust in order. Yet not all conquered species were blind. From the ice cities of Sevrian emerged the Ulsor, a race whose strategic doctrines had been considered heretical for centuries. They had long argued that chaos could be a weapon, though their theories had been suppressed by conquered orthodoxy. Now, seeing humanity's raw defiance, they petitioned the Council to recognize a new model: adaptive defense. The Council, fractured and desperate, refused. The Ulsor defected. They sent emissaries to humanity, not with offers of domination or assimilation, but with terms of alliance. Not submission but cooperation. Sarah Imani met with them aboard the TFS Resolute in orbit over the liberated colony of Erythea Prime. The Ulsor emissary, an elder strategist named Morvesh, spoke through a symbiont translator. "You wield the fire of creation and destruction equally," Morvesh said, his translucent form flickering in the dim light. "We would learn, we would teach. Together we could reshape destiny." Sarah studied him in silence, weighing risk against need. Earth's industries strained to meet demand. Human losses, though smaller than projected, were not insignificant. An ally within the conquered could mean survival and more. "We do not kneel," she said finally. "We do not chain ourselves to the old ways, but if you stand with us on our terms, you are welcome." An accord was sealed not with treaties or genetic markers, but with shared operations. The Ulsor became humanity's first interstellar allies, bringing technologies previously considered forbidden by conquered law: entropic field weapons, temporal displacement mines, thought-based navigation. Together, they struck at the conquered's core supply chains. While conquered fleets massed in traditional defensive corridors, human and Ulsor-led strike forces bypassed them entirely, slipping through spatial eddies and forgotten wormholes. They targeted Atlas core relays, propaganda stations, genetic repositories, systems vital to the illusion of stability. Every act of sabotage, every sudden collapse of infrastructure, sowed doubt in species who had never known uncertainty. On the oceanic world of Valmora, the first full-scale revolt broke out. The Shikari, amphibious beings bred for compliance, rose against their conquered appointed overseers, inspired by pirated human broadcasts depicting Earth's own bloody struggle for freedom. Their uprising was primitive, chaotic, and immediately crushed, but the idea had already spread like wildfire. The conquered leadership was forced to reconvene at the celestial forum of Aladris Prime. The air was heavy with static, an undercurrent of fear alien to beings who had not known true danger for millennia. Grand Executor Tsilvar's form, once a gleaming beacon of refracted light, now seemed brittle under the pressure of unfolding disaster. "The infection must be contained," intoned the Vrexari Primarch again, its synthetic voice strained. Tsilvar's crystalline lattice shimmered uncertainly. "It is not an infection, it is mutation." Outside the chambers, rumors whispered through the corridors, human agents operating behind conquered lines sowing dissent, conquered-born dissidents forming covert cells, star systems where the laws of stability no longer held sway. The order had been absolute, the systems had been ensured. Now across the stars the unbreakable lattice began to crack, and in those cracks human purpose, raw, stubborn, burning, pushed upward like life through shattered stone. And still, humanity had yet to reveal its full strength. The true ignition had not even begun. In the shadow of fractured conquered authority, the human momentum accelerated. Admiral Rael Sato, the Terran-Free Armada's new chief of strategic expansion, initiated Operation Spindle, a campaign not of conquest but of catalysis. Instead of seizing planets, human fleets dropped encrypted caches of information, histories of Earth's revolutions, schematics for forbidden technologies, philosophical treatises on self-determination. Seeds of disobedience sown across 1,000 worlds. Where humanity could not physically reach, the idea of humanity bloomed. Soon the rebellion was not human-led. It was local, spontaneous, unpredictable. Shikari insurgents, Severian-free nomads, even minor conquered administrative species like the Cantal began dismantling their programming, tearing down the very infrastructure that once promised them safety. Systems that had ensured order for 12,000 rotations collapsed in months. Conquered reaction grew desperate. The ancient doctrine of severance was invoked. It permitted the annihilation of entire systems to prevent ideological contamination. Bioengineered plagues were unleashed upon rebellious worlds. Artificial suns were destabilized into silent supernovae. Billions perished. Humanity responded not with retreat, but with escalation. Earth's War Council authorized the full deployment of Project Phoenix, the first generation of autonomous dreadnoughts. These titanic vessels housed living crews only in minimal numbers, operating primarily through self-aware tactical cores designed to think beyond program limitations. The flagship TFS Lucidity led the charge into the heart of conquered territory, carving a bloody path through warforms and suppression fleets alike. At Epsilon Hydra, the Lucidity faced the newly formed conquered Purity Armada. 57 conquered capital ships moved to encircle it in a classic containment maneuver, projecting overlapping gravitational wells to crush the human dreadnought without direct engagement. Sato's counterstrike rewrote naval warfare. Instead of resisting, the Lucidity reversed its gravity drives, folding space not away from the encirclement but into it, collapsing the fleet's own wells inward. Dozens of conquered vessels imploded into each other, their mass compressed into singularities. The Lucidity emerged from the wreckage untouched, broadcasting a single transmission across open channels. "We are not bound by your design." The message echoed from world to world, a clarion call to all who yearned for something more than survival under orderly tyranny. Meanwhile, in the political heart of the rebellion, something deeper stirred. In the subterranean vaults beneath the Terran capital of New Alexandria, research teams led by Dr. Alina Kamarov completed the Equinox engine. Unlike traditional faster-than-light drives limited to mapped slipstreams, the Equinox could punch through the fabric of spacetime itself, navigating true void space by riding chaotic quantum tides. With it, humanity could move where conquered fleets could not follow. Territory became meaningless, supply lines obsolete. The first operational Equinox ship, TFS Ardent, disappeared from Sol and reappeared 12 sectors deep into conquered space within 2 hours. The shock of its arrival shattered local conquered defenses before they could even comprehend how humanity had bypassed centuries of border fortifications. Suddenly every world, every star, every stronghold thought safe was vulnerable. The conquered council fractured, Factions splintered, some advocated retreat to preserve their cultures, others demanded total war, still others, the boldest, proposed negotiation. It was during this chaos that Sarah Amani, now Supreme Commander of the Terran forces, called for the Convergence Assembly. Humanity did not seek extermination of the conquered species. They sought transformation, a new order born not of fear and predictability, but of will and choice. Humanity would not rule as tyrants, but neither would they submit to the stagnation that had crippled galactic civilization for millennia. The Convergence Assembly was hosted on the neutral world of Luri V, a cold, rocky sphere chosen precisely for its lack of strategic value. There, under the glowering light of a red dwarf sun, representatives from hundreds of species gathered. Some came out of hope, others from fear. All came knowing that the future pivoted on a knife's edge. Sarah stood before them, clad not in regal attire but in the battle-worn uniform of a Terran fleet officer. Her voice, amplified across the assembly, carried the raw force of human conviction. "You call us a contagion, a disruption, an anomaly, you are right." She let the words sink in. "We are the refusal of inevitability, the denial of stagnation. We are the chaos that shapes creation, the storm that clears the rot. We will not fit your order because your order is broken." Gasps and murmurs rippled through the gathered Concordians, many unaccustomed to such naked, unvarnished speech. "We offer not peace," Sarah continued, "but opportunity. Stand with us, reshape the galaxy with us, or be left to wither in the ruins of a system that can no longer sustain itself." The choice was stark, no easy assimilation, no return to the illusion of stability. In the aftermath of the assembly, the first Terran conquered was born, not an empire, but a living, volatile web of alliances, trade, and exploration governed by dynamic pacts rather than immutable laws. Not all accepted, entire regions of space rejected the new era, becoming battlefronts in a war that had no end in sight, yet the tide was irreversible. Where once the galaxy had been a clockwork machine of known outcomes, it was now a living storm, fueled by billions of wills striving, dreaming, fighting. The systems that had ensured order had crumbled. The chaos ignited by human will burned with purpose. And the galaxy would never again be the same. The birth of the Terran conquered did not bring peace. It unleashed something the old systems had never prepared for: evolution without limits. Entire sectors once homogenized under the conquered's cold stability erupted into experiments of society and civilization. Some worlds embraced Terran ideals, merging ancient conquered technologies with human innovation to create hybrid polities. Others fell into chaos, fracturing into microstates ruled by warlords, philosophers, or machine intellects. Humanity adapted faster than any. New Terran colonies seeded across the stars bore little resemblance to the Earth that had launched them. Some became city worlds of glistening spires and living biospheres, others floating megastructures orbiting black holes, their citizens engineered to survive gravitational extremes. No two human worlds evolved the same, and that variance became their greatest strength. But the old conquered was not dead. In the dark places between the stars, remnants of the ancient order regrouped. Led by the enigmatic entity known only as the Archon of Silence, a coalition of surviving conquered hardliners formed the Redoubt. Their doctrine was simple: restore order at any cost. They weaponized relic technologies forbidden even by their ancestors, stasis fields that could trap entire planetary populations in frozen moments, mindnet arrays that hijacked neural pathways, turning free beings into docile instruments. The first strike came at Garo's Ultima, a Terran-aligned frontier world. Without warning, an entire population of 30 million fell into silence, their minds trapped, their bodies preserved as a warning. The Redoubt sent a transmission across known space, its tone devoid of anger, only chilling finality. Order is mercy, chaos is death, submit or be erased. Humanity's response was not to retreat, but to evolve again. Supreme Commander Sarah Amani authorized Project Helix, the most radical initiative yet undertaken by human science. Building on the foundation of the Equinox engine, Terran scientists developed adaptive singularity cores, living drives that could react to threats faster than conscious thought, warping space and time to shield or strike. The first Helix-class vessel, TFS Dauntless, broke Redoubt blockades not by force alone, but by existing outside predictable dimensions. Every encounter became a brutal lesson for the Redoubt. Traditional strategies failed, even forbidden technologies crumbled before raw, adaptive chaos. Yet victory came at a cost. The Dauntless's core degraded faster than expected, and its captain, Admiral Lee Navarro, was lost when the ship folded space improperly, vanishing into a rift beyond known physics. Memorials were held across Terran worlds, and with them came a deeper understanding: the war would not be won without sacrifice. Meanwhile, on Aladris Prime, the hollowed heart of the old conquered, revolution stirred. Among the crystalline ruins where once the grand executors ruled, a council of young thinkers, engineers, and renegade scholars convened. Calling themselves the Fractaline Assembly, they declared allegiance to no species, no world, but to the principle of endless transformation. Human advisors helped them establish the first cross-species collegium, a living network of knowledge-sharing nodes where no information was sacred and no doctrine immune to challenge. The Fractaline Assembly launched the first multi-species fleet independent of Terran command, blending technologies in ways the conquered would have deemed heretical. Their ships shimmered in forms beyond pure matter, half alive, half energy, piloted by crews who thought in ways that no ancient model could predict. The war against the Redoubt escalated into dimensions the galaxy had never imagined. At the Battle of Shattered Veil, Redoubt forces unleashed the Ecliptarchs, massive thought beings engineered from the minds of conquered populations, designed to consume rebellion at the speed of thought. Traditional weapons failed, even Terran ships faltered. It was the Fractaline fleet that turned the tide. Using consciousness splicing techniques developed from Delari mistform principles and human quantum warfare theories, they fragmented the Ecliptarchs' minds, sowing paradoxes that caused them to devour themselves in self-referential collapse. The Redoubt retreated deeper into uncharted space, bleeding resources and morale. Yet humanity knew the threat was not gone. Sarah Imani, older now, her body rebuilt with gene craft to withstand the strain of decades of war, convened the Council of Renewal on New Alexandria. Leaders from Terran worlds, Ulsor enclaves, Fractaline sectors, and even some former conquered species attended. In the great amphitheater of Rising Dawn, she spoke one final mandate. We shattered the lattice not to rule its ruins, but to build anew. If we fail now, if we seek only to replace one order with another, we will become the thing we despised. She turned her gaze across the thousands gathered. Creation must never end, innovation must never stagnate, must never be chained again. Across the council, the acknowledgement was unanimous. A declaration of everdaption was ratified, a commitment not to static governance but to living evolution, not to a single species' dominance but to the weaving of countless wills into something the old galaxy could never have dreamed. Meanwhile, in the lost regions where human slipstream probes dared to go, something stirred. Hints of entities beyond even the Redoubt's reach, architectures of thought and matter older than the conquered, older than recorded galactic memory, silent watchers who had endured not through law or control, but through endless, patient adaptation. Humanity had ignited chaos with purpose, but now the firelight revealed deeper shadows still. And in the gathering dark, humanity did not flinch. They prepared to step beyond the known, to challenge not just systems of order, but the fundamental nature of existence itself. The storm was growing, and humanity, its architects, stood ready. The veil of the known galaxy had been torn. Beyond the mapped territories, past the ancient structures of the conquered, the probes sent by human explorers began vanishing without trace. Signals returned garbled or silent, sometimes delivering visions that defied rational analysis, vast cities orbiting black holes, languages encoded in gravitational fluctuations, living architectures that sang across dimensions. The Watchers had awoken. Among humanity's brightest, a consensus formed: to survive, to thrive, they could not stand still. Stagnation had been the conquered's death. Only unending motion, transformation, and will could meet the unknown. The Terran conquered, fractured though it was by endless innovation, agreed on one act: the Ascension Initiative. It would not be a conquest, it would be an invitation. The Assembly commissioned the Vanguard Ark, a colossal starborne construct larger than any world, built from fractal alloys, seeded with evolving intelligences, and powered by the first singularity tether, a chain of linked singularities stabilized through human Delari-Ulsor cooperation. It would carry not just warriors, but philosophers, engineers, artists, dreamers. A living testament to what the galaxy could become when freed from ancient fear. It would move beyond the last star. Sarah Imani, her body now a fusion of human flesh and adaptive nanostructures, led the Vanguard personally. No clone, no successor. Her mind, sharpened by years of struggle, burned with the same fierce purpose that had lit the first spark. As the Vanguard arc prepared to depart from the orbit of New Alexandria, vast crowds gathered across Earth, Mars, Titan, and the thousands of Terran-aligned worlds. The moment was broadcast across the stars, a declaration that humanity would not huddle behind walls but would walk into the unknown as makers, not supplicants. Sarah stood before the massive observation windows of the Vanguard, watching the newborn artificial suns flare to life along its drive spine. "We do not seek dominance," she spoke to all, "we seek creation." "We do not ask permission," she said, voice hardening, "we will forge paths where none exist." And then the Vanguard arc leapt forward, accelerating beyond the known physics of any species before them, piercing into the dark where even ancient conquered maps ended. What they found was not a barren frontier, but an ecosystem of civilizations older than history. The Watchers revealed themselves at last. The first contact occurred on the event horizon of a rogue singularity. Structures crafted of dark matter lattices shifted in impossible geometries. Beings composed of probability waveforms and memory fields extended tendrils of perception toward the humans and their allies. There was no immediate attack, no demand for surrender. Instead, there was a challenge. Survive. Evolve. Prove worthy of existence beyond entropy. The Watchers unleashed trials designed to destroy minds and rewrite realities. False worlds layered over true space. Simulated universes that tested choice, will, and adaptability. Human scientists, warriors, and dreamers fought not with weapons alone, but with creativity, resilience, and a refusal to accept imposed limits. Where others would have faltered, humanity adapted. Teams from the Fractaline Assembly built shifting thought forms capable of counter-coding the Watchers' simulations. Ulsor tacticians devised paradox engines that mirrored enemy constructs into oblivion. Terran philosophers dismantled the traps of false logic through pure human contradiction, choosing chaos where order demanded collapse. For every defeat, humanity returned stronger. At the Cradle of Whispers, a star system turned into a living sentience. The Vanguard Arc's crews rewired their own biology, integrating nanosymbiotes that let them think across multiple timelines simultaneously. At the Divide of Size, where the Watchers' gravity mines devoured certainty itself, human navigators invented the tangent drift, a method of moving by probability rather than position, dancing across possibility space like ancient mariners surfing tides. Humanity did not just survive. They thrived. In time, the Watchers ceased their trials. They revealed themselves not as a singular entity, but as a network of ascended civilizations that had forsaken physical form, surviving the death of empires and the collapse of galaxies by one principle alone: adaptation through will. They welcomed humanity not as subjects, not as equals, but as the first new civilization in untold epochs worthy to join them. And humanity, in return, did not kneel. Sarah Amani, standing before the gathered avatars of the Watchers, made humanity's final declaration. "We will walk alongside you," she said, her voice carrying the weight of 1,000,000,000 dreams. "But we will also build our own stars, our own truths, our own storms." "We are not the end of history," she said, "we are its next beginning." Thus, humanity became the architects of a second renaissance across the galaxy and beyond. Terran-conquered worlds spread into dimensions where once only ancient ghosts tread. New alliances formed among races thought lost. Technologies bloomed not in slow decay, but in wild, flowering explosions of possibility. No longer constrained by old systems, by old fears, by old orders, the descendants of Earth carried forward a living, breathing chaos imbued with purpose. A chaos that forged new worlds, new sentiences, new dreams. In the deep places of existence, new songs rose. Songs of change. Songs of will. Songs of life unchained. The galaxy, once a frozen sculpture of inevitability, now roared with the voices of billions who refused to be silenced. Alien systems had ensured order. Human will had ignited chaos with purpose. And in that blaze, a new galaxy was born.